20,000 Days on Earth, which is a film sort of about Nick Cave, directed by Iain Forsyth and Jane Pollard. The story is nominally a day in the life of Nick Cave. He's been on Earth for 20,000 years, so he's a 50-something rocker. During the course of that, he's going to look at his life and kind of assess his life. And during the course of the day, we see him waking up in his bed. We see him hanging out with Warren Ellis. We see him having strange conversations whilst driving around in his Jaguar with Kylie Minogue and with Ray Winston, both of whom he's worked with on film and music projects. And then we get a live gig. But the whole thing is put together in the manner of something which is, it has the feel of a documentary, but is also completely artificial and indeed scripted. Here's a little clip.
Mostly I feel like a cannibal. You know, a cartoon one with the big lips and the funny hair and the bone through its nose. Always looking for someone to cook in a pot. You can ask my wife, Susie. She'll tell you. Because she's usually the one that's getting cooked. Because there is an understanding between us. A pact. Where every secret, sacred moment that exists between a husband and a wife is cannibalized and ground up and spat out the other side in the form of a song, inflated and distorted and monstrous.
Now, what I'd say about the film is how you react to it very much depends on how you would react to something like that, for example. I mean, I think that Nick Cave is a very interesting writer. I think sometimes he's pompous and sometimes he's really insightful. And what the film is it's playfully artificial. There is a kind of conceit with most documentaries about rock stars that what it will do is it'll lift the veil and it'll show you the face behind the veil, you know, whether it's In Bed with Madonna or whether it's Don't Look Back, the Bob Dylan. In the case of this, everything is artificial. Nick Cave is playing a role. He's actually playing a role of Nick Cave, but just because he's playing somebody who appears to be himself doesn't mean that it isn't artificial. Now, my own feeling about it is that actually when you get a character like that, artifice often reveals more truth. So there is a thing, for example, when he goes off to be interviewed, but to see his psychoanalyst, who's Darian Leader. And of course, this is a completely artificial construct. Darian Leader is indeed a psychoanalyst, but he's not Nick Cave's shrink. They met for the first time whilst shooting that. The whole thing about driving around the streets of Brighton is this weird artificiality of these characters appearing in his car. And the whole thing has a sort of theatrical performance to it. And during the course of that, he starts talking about the way in which he creates through his music, through his novels, through whatever it is, an alternative universe in which forces of good and evil are kind of real things. And although he doesn't actually in the real world believe in them, he believes in the artifice of it. And the funny thing is that that fits rather well with the documentary itself. The documentary believes in the artifice of that world. What I like about it is it's not just somebody doing, let's do a portrait of Nick Cave, interesting rocker who some people like and some people don't. It's a film which has got a sort of, you know, widescreen sensibility. It's very cinematic, kind of draws on film noir. It's playful. It's also, there are times when you don't know whether to laugh, yawn or scream. And it does attempt to get under the skin of the work without doing that thing about pretending that what you're actually getting is a candid warts and all portrait of the person as they take the mask off, as they take the hair off, as they take the public image off. You don't. What you get is a kind of immersion in that world. And it's also, it's sort of a film about Brighton as well, in the same way that, did you ever see The Man Whose Mind Exploded? The film about Draco Zahazar, the famous Brighton amnesiac.
Just slipped through my must-watch list.
I reviewed it, and I think I said you should check it out.
Yeah, must have just
slipped through, you know. Anyway, I enjoyed it very much.
What's the name of the movie again?
It's called 20,000 Days on Earth. Some people have said you'd have to be a Nick Cave fan to enjoy it, and I don't agree with that.